perfect bilingual, Bangla and English, and maybe...
No, I know Bangla. I don't know English.
Well, it's hard
try
for us
to
to believe you don't know English. But yes, okay, well, the question that I wish to ask you is, in translation, people say there is always loss.
Yeah.
I have taught translation for a long time in the MA and MPhil classes. I've supervised PhDs in translation. Yes, of course there is loss. Yes, of course lots of things are lost. But look at the gain. Without the English, we wouldn't be able to read your poems. So
Yeah.
one gain outweighs all the losses, it seems to me. And yet, the author can never be happy with translation. What have been your feelings about
I
process?
think that 80% essence is lost in case of poetry.
How much?
80%.
Well,
And
Robert
20
Frost...
to 20 to 50% in case of prose.
Prose, yeah. Robert Frost was asked to define poetry once. Nothing to do with translation. He was asked to define poetry. And he said, poetry is what gets lost in translation. So, 80% is good. He said 100%. Yeah. But aren't you compensated to some extent by other people being able to read it who do not know Bangla? Aren't you happy about people
Yeah.
reading you in translation who would never have been able to read you in Bengali?
Yeah. Yeah, I am happy, but
They don't matter.
actually I get
Yeah.
more happy when people read in
Bangla.
my original language.
Bangla, yes.
I have seen my poetry books were published in French language. So the person who translated my poetry into French language, she knew Bangla, but she is French. So what kind of mistake she has done, afterwards I discovered, and I was really sad. In my poem, I wrote in Bangla, the তোমাকে আঁচলে গিট দিয়ে ভালো বেঁধেছি, দিন দিন তবু তুমি হীনতায় কেঁদেছি. And she translated it in French like, it is like I bind you with my achal, sari end, but still I cried a lot because you were not there. Means you were so near to me, but you were not there.
Yeah.
But she translated it in French like, I joined you or bind you with my hair, and you were so heen, means you were so bad that I cried. Because tumi hinota in one word means that without you. And hinota is another meaning, that you are so niche, you are so bad.
Yeah.
No? So she translated tumi means you, hinota means you are bad. But she couldn't translate it tumi hinota, without you. So totally different poem, And my Lajja was translated in many different languages. And in Icelandic languages, it was published. But who translated my book in Icelandic languages from Bengali? Nobody. Actually, first, Lajja was translated from Bengali to English, from English to French, from French to Swedish, from Swedish to Norwegian, and from Norwegian to Icelandic. So I think that it was not anymore my book. It lost not 80%, it lost 100%.
It's called Chinese Whispers. The game is Chinese whispers. There's loss at every stage until it's totally misheard.
Because Bangla is a language, it's poor people's language. So in Europe, you will not find many translators.
no.
Nowadays you will find translators from, Japanese and Chinese, but not Bangla. And so it is very hard to get translators, because translators should be, their mother tongue should be that language that they are translated into. No?
Indeed.
So because not so many people in Europe know Bengali, so that, they have to, wait for the English translation or French translation. Then from French translation, actually the Italian and Spanish translation was actually, they followed French one. So it shouldn't be. Always translation should be from the original language. Otherwise, you will lose a lot.
I agree, but the consolation for the author is that she cannot read most of the translations.
No.
So in that case, you hear from others that so much has changed at every stage.
Yeah.
But at least there's some saving grace. Have you ever felt tempted to translate your own work into English?
No, because my English is bad, so I never tried to translate.
I suppose if Bangla is translated into Hindi, then there is not very much loss. No?
Yeah,
Still some.
it depends on who is
Who
translating.
translates it? Yeah.
So translator, sometimes my Hindi publisher say that, oh, he knows Bengali or she knows Bengali, so they can translate. I said, no, they have to be a writer. They have to Hindi writer. And if someone translate poetry from Bengali to Hindi or in whatever languages, they have to be poet in their own languages. Otherwise, it would be, they would not, if they are not writer, they will just translate, literal translations. And those translations will not be very good. So I am victim of those, that many of my Hindi books or many other books were translated by people who are not writers, who are not poetry was translated by people who are not poets. So this is, I want to tell you, the translation, there was a writer, George Perec, French writer, and he was a magician. He knew magic. He wrote a whole book, void, without E. E is very essential for French language. But his translator, American translator, translated the whole book without the letter E. Can you imagine? So powerful, so talented translator. So translators should be very talented, should be, should themselves writers. Otherwise, when you read my books, you will not enjoy.
One problem, on the other hand, with people who translate another author and are writers themselves, especially poets translating other poets, is that they are not happy until they have written a poem of their own in translation. They possess it completely to write an almost independent poem. So that is the other part of it.
Bangla is much better.
I was telling you I should not ruin it. At the same time, we are in a double bind. Bangla is much better. And, as the mystic poets used to say in the medieval ages, people like Kabir, the experience of the Nirguna is like feeding jaggery to the dumb. They can taste the sweetness, but they cannot tell you what they are tasting. That's translation.
You shouldn't translate. This is literal translation. And, in poetry, it doesn't make sense. I have to translate the feelings, you know.
So you have an option. Either you learn Bengali very quickly and read the original, or you buy this book and read and get what you can, right?